Good morning, everyone. My name is Scott Morris. I'm the Director of Business Development for the gaming category for GTS Distribution. We're here with another one of our publisher to retailer webinars, and today we are joined by our good friend Curt Covert, who is the owner and president of Smirk and Dagger and Smirk and Laughter Games. You more than likely have heard of Smirk and Dagger from Cutthroat Caverns, one of the long-standing take-that games that is very popular in the hobby circles. Today, we're going to be talking about three games. We're going to talk about the Cutthroat Caverns Anniversary Edition. We're going to talk about a new game, The Menace Among Us, and we're also going to talk about a game that is perfectly timed for the holidays coming up with December and foot traffic coming in and people looking for that holiday type game to play with their friends called Roll for Your Life Candyman. So three very fun games that we'll go over. I'll let Curt explain all the details to you. Just as a reminder though, if you are a GTS retail customer of ours, you will be able to get a 52% discount off MSRP for all three of these games between today, October 7th, and next Monday, October 14th of 2019. So that's a great little added bonus as well. At this time of year, it's always nice to get a little bit extra margin, so it's good stuff. As I mentioned earlier, if you do have a question, you're more than welcome to ask anything you like. We like to keep these involved and engaging. You're welcome to click on the little chat bubble, ask any kind of questions you want. As I tell everybody, everything is on the table, so it's all good. With that, I may go hide in the corner because I think Curt's going to like go Wolverine, but we'll kick it over to Curt and we'll let him get started. So Curt, it's all yours, my friend.
Thanks so much. All right, well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for stopping by. Yes, we all had a fun look at this. It is October, so I figured I'd introduce myself with this wonderful shot from a few years ago. This was back when Toys R Us was having the sale on all those Wolverine claws, and I couldn't help but pose for it. So I'm Curt Covert. I'm the owner of Smirk and Dagger, and as Scott mentioned, we are going to be talking about three games, which I've got shown here. Two of which, these first two, Menace and Cutthroat, are going to be actually street dating this week. So, so they're very timely. Plus, I've actually got a little sneak preview that was not on the agenda at the very end. So stay tuned for that as well. But let's get into it. Let's start with the Menace Among Us. Illustrated by a great illustrator who, this style just really reminded me of Titan AE, if you remember that animation from a while back. So it's got some nice shelf presence. This game is for 4 to 8 players, so it's a big group game, ages 10 and up, and 45 minutes. This is a sci-fi hidden role game of intrigue and survival in deep space, and it comes in at $39.95. And as I mentioned, it's going to be dropping on Wednesday. Therefore, yes, it is in stock. There are no allocations. And if for any reason zeros pop up when you take a look for it, just ask your sales rep and they will make sure they get you a copy. So, or several.
I did just also put into chat, I put the SKUs for all the games so that retailers can look them up, and just put a note in that we do have orders in with Smirk and Dagger to have those things delivered this week. There are several that we have pre-ordered already, of course, for anyone that had pre-ordered the games. But in addition to that, we're adding more stock for this week, obviously, for the webinar and stuff like that. So if you do see a zero or if you see anything that is out of stock, that as Curt mentioned, yes, please shoot an email to your sales rep or put a back order in on the online website, and we'll make sure to get that taken care of for everybody as soon as possible.
All right, great. So what is the Menace Among Us? Well, first, let me tell you a little bit about who would be a great target for this game. Certainly, this is going to appeal to any social deduction game players that you have. But on top of that, it's been really doing well outside of those circles as well. It's really best targeted at lovers of hidden agenda board games. What we actually hear quite a lot from players and reviewers is a comparison to something like Dead of Winter and Battlestar Galactica. But instead of 2 to 3 hours, playable in just 45 minutes, and that is a strong selling point. In this game, you're on a ship, and there is a major problem. The engines, as you can see down in the lower left, they are dead. 0 energy left in them. And you only have limited air on board. So your goal as a loyal crew member is to bring the energy back to full without, of course, suffocating to death first, having the air drop to 0. This is a game that features shuffle building, and the Menace players are on board trying to do exactly opposite of the crew, trying to either kill you all or suffocate you through the actions that they do. And as you start the game, you're first going to choose an agenda. Now, an agenda, as you see on the right here, it's going to tell you whether you're a loyal crew member or a terrible Menace player, and it's going to tell you, what your primary goal is: save the ship. And the little star goal, that's a separate goal just for you that you also have to achieve to win. And sometimes those are a little counter-purposed. For example, the Vengeant actually has to make sure that at least someone at the table dies. Hopefully it's a Menace player, but it doesn't necessarily have to be for them to win. Importantly, though, as I mentioned, this is about shuffle building as you set up, and that means you are going to get 13 cards, as you can see at the bottom of that agenda card, that are pre-programmed as part of that agenda, and that is the starting of your personal deck. Then, once you know how you're supposed to win, you're going to then choose a character card that's going to help you do so. You'll have a choice of 3, and that's going to give you 7 new cards that you're going to add to your deck. So your deck is unique every time you sit down to play. It's also going to give you 2 special abilities. So you can see Veto and Laser Pistol for the captain here. Laser Pistol may in fact help the Vengeant with their goal of killing a player, in fact. So maybe that's why they chose it. Whereas, here's one of the Menace players, the Contagion. Now, they've decided as they were looking through characters, they were probably going to choose the Doctor. Why might they do that? Well, first of all, it's going to give some really great cards, 7 new cards to their deck, and otherwise they have just these horrible cards. So by having a few good cards, they can float a couple out. But they also have a special ability called First Aid. They can heal a crew member, which makes them seem like a really great guy, but it costs 2 air to do that, as you can see, and they're trying to suffocate everyone, so that's actually a lot more important to the Menace player, is actually losing that air. So in the game, there's a set number of cards. No one will have all of them because, as we said, the decks are completely customized for your character and your agenda. But understanding what these cards do, at least in the broad category, is great for helping to try to understand who might be a Menace and who might not be. So the most important card, and there are 3 absolutely great cards in the game: Raise Morale. It's the most important resource is our oxygen, and there's only 1 card that raises it. So Raise Morale is absolutely important and always a great card to play. Advanced Repair is going to raise the energy. That's how you're going to win, by getting the energy back to 100. And luckily, it only costs 1 air to bring the air up, to bring the energy up 2. So that's a great trade, 2 for 1. Whereas Command, yeah, it costs an air, but everyone gets to draw a card. That can be really important because it can take your whole turn to draw a card otherwise. So this offers a really great economy. Now, there are, of course, neutral cards as well. Basic Repair is a 1-for-1 trade for oxygen and energy, which is great, but quite honestly, the Menace players are about as happy as that as anyone else. There's also things like Backstab and Brawl, and these are cards that actually wound players. Now, it only takes 2 wounds to actually kill a player. So these sound like terrible cards. Why are they neutral? Well, at the end of the game, once you decide who you think the Menace is and reveal them, you're going to have to actually kill them in order to win. So security teams will have these cards in hand. So you won't know when these cards played out if it's just someone who has them because they're security team or if they are actually a Menace. However, these are all terrible cards. Airlock Breach, you're losing oxygen. Explosion, the energy goes down too. Panic, everyone's discarding card. And Reactor Leak, if you played a card this turn and you don't have a wound already, you're wounded. These are all terrible cards, and if you're suspected of playing one, chances are you are a terrible Menace player, but not always. And that's kind of the fun of this game. Everyone always has kind of a counter purpose. You don't know exactly what their motivations are because of these hidden roles and your secret goals. And that's what really keeps people on their toes. That's the hardest part of the game, is just understanding all of that. When you actually start playing, the gameplay is so simple. Anyone can just jump in and really play. On your turn, you're going to just do one of three actions. You're going to draw a card from your personal deck, you're going to play a card from your hand, or you're going to use one of those two special abilities that come with your character. That's it. It goes around the table, starting with the mission leader, who will do one of these things, and it'll proceed around the table until everyone had a chance to act. And it'll keep on doing that until, until someone either is getting very close, the crew's getting close to saving the ship by getting the energy up, or dangerously close to death as the air goes down. And all the while, trying to understand who those Menace players are so that you can expose them. Now, exposing a player comes with the voting pistol. The voting pistol is a wonderful prop that is on the table, and when it's set up, it's definitely the thing that draws people to the table and like, okay, well, what is that? It's a cool looking cardboard prop, and it actually has a real use in the game, though. You can debate long and hard about who you think is a menace and why. But as soon as someone picks this up off the table and kind of holds it up in the air, that is the signal that no more discussion. There's going to be a vote, and it's going to be right now, folks. So at that point, it becomes like a 3-2-1 point, or abstain. And if you've got the most fingers pointed at you, well, now you're going to have to reveal yourself and potentially be exiled. Now, if you are exiled, there is a danger. If you are wrong, and it's actually a loyal crew member that you decided was going to be a menace, and you were going to try to exile them to the secondary hull, well, the big problem with doing that too early is if you're wrong, there's a penalty. You lose 3 air. Now, that's not bad enough. You also lose their special abilities as characters, as loyal crew members. That's also bad. And even worse, you lose them from your voting block for future votes, which gives, again, the menace a little bit more power. Of course, if you're right, then all kinds of great things happen. You're going to gain a little air, and you've got now at least one of the menace players on the run. As you get into higher player counts, 7 and 8 player, there's even a neutral agenda, the coward. They flip-flop. They start as a loyal crew member, but as soon as that first menace pops up, they turn menace. They just want to survive. However, if both menace players are killed, they have to win with the loyal crew. So they just want to survive, and that's their goal. But this is a game that, with 10 agendas and 18 characters, it offers tons of replay. You're never going to play the same combination twice, or very rarely. There's over 300 cards. It's got a really big box with an organizing tray, and that comes in at $39.95, which is a huge perceived value. When people see this box, they're like, oh my God, and it's got 300 cards, like, oh, this sounds like a great deal. And it is. So that is also a selling point. I can tell you that my local retailer has a appreciation night for their staff, and they very often, now demand this game as I walk into the door, hoping that I brought it. So in any case, really looking forward to this. Also, November 2nd and 3rd, we are going to be having an Envoy Retail Splash event. Now, if you don't know Envoy, they are a third-party demo team that will actually go into your store and demo the game for a good number of hours. They are trained on the games and everything else. Plus, if you don't have an Envoy member near you, you can sign up yourself with Envoy, either yourself or an employee, which will get you a demo copy and other support. So I've just listed some of the information. Obviously, this is not just for me, but they've got 62 publishers they represent. So just something to be aware of.
I just popped the contact information there for Envoy into the chat window as well. So if anyone misses it or doesn't see it immediately, you can copy it from there too.
Great. Okay.
Yeah. This is I have to hand it to you on something. So the graphic design for Menace Among Us is beautiful.
Oh, well,
It
thank you.
is, I've obviously in my role, I see literally thousands of games. And one of the things that I always tend to lean towards is, can I figure out what is happening on a card without having to read the rules, right? Is it logical enough? Is it intelligent enough? Is it simple enough? And when you showed the three cards of raise morale and raise the energy, it was extremely clear. Yes, this is what they do, which for me is phenomenal, because whether you're a retailer and you're demoing the game in store, or whether you're a consumer and you're playing it and trying to teach it to other people, it makes it a lot easier to be able to teach people when things are put in a logical format or a logical view that people can just go, oh yeah, of course that raises the oxygen. So I think this game looks absolutely beautiful. It's a really good job.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, and quite honestly, a lot of credit for some of that design goes right to the designer. These cards that we're looking at the bottom of the screen, they are almost unchanged from the designer's first prototype.
Wow.
Yeah, they did a heck of a job with it.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it impressed me as well. But
And it's
I
going
have
to
to.
sound silly, but you used a font that is completely readable and legible. For some reason, there seems to be a growing push of people who want to use these fonts that are really artistic and really crazy looking, and they look kind of artistic. But when you have to sit there for 5 minutes going, does that say like damage? Or does, So that's kind of funny.
Absolutely, yeah. And being a graphic designer myself, I feel your pain.
Carrie just made a great comment. She said, I played this at an open house and it's slated to be on our recommendations for games to play at Thanksgiving. That's perfect. Yeah, in terms of large groups and people getting together looking for something to play. I could easily see us downing some turkey and then pointing the voting pistol at someone really easily.
Yeah, and interesting point. This is a game that is a little surprising. Certainly, it has the social deduction aspect to it, but it is far less like Werewolf and a much more like the Dead of Winter, in that it's meteor gameplay, and you're not relying on how well you can feign innocence in this game. It really is how well you play. And I think that's what separates it and allows people who are not necessarily social deduction game players to really engage and enjoy with it. And that's some of the biggest feedback I've gotten from players as they've approached the game as we developed it. That they would say, "Oh, well, I don't even really like social deduction games. I like this one. I play this one," and it's so easy. I think because of the cards. Once you understand the broad context of the game, playing it, anyone can step in and play it. So it's
It
I think it's
honestly strikes
yeah.
me more as strategic deduction than social deduction, because
Yes.
you have the point of what you made before, where you could be the doctor and you could be taking an action that helps people, but you're not really trying to help people because you're trying to lower the oxygen. And
Yeah.
it puts that kind of almost questionable doubt into someone's mind. And it's at that point, not so much trying to determine like the other players mannerisms or comments or things like
Yes.
that, like you would pick up on in like a werewolf type game. But it's much more about their gameplay and much more about what are the actions you're actually doing, what are the results of your actions, and what is that leading us towards. And that should be what tells me, who you are and what your motivations are, which is really cool.
Yeah. The other thing too is that even the Menace players don't know who each other are. So
Oh,
they might actually take an action against someone that could be trying to help them. They have no idea.
now I can't wait to play this game.
So great. All right. Well, let's move on from Menace and get into our next game here. And there we go. So Cutthroat Caverns. And for a lot of folks, you may be familiar with Cutthroat, but this is the anniversary edition. It's been 12 years since this game first came out, and there are a bunch of things to find out about what is new in this updated version. But for those of you who are less familiar, this is actually one of our most critically acclaimed games. It is absolutely a devious semi-co-op, and it is it is really emotionally charged. It's all about betrayal and kill stealing in a classic fantasy dungeon setting. During the game, you are deciding how hard or light you're going to land a blow on that creature, hoping that you land the killing blow. And you're going to mess with other people, but if you do so too much, there's a good chance the whole party will die without a winner. And that's the precarious balance you find yourself in this game. And certainly it has been on the lists of top 10 backstabbing games. It is ages 14 and up. This new there's a way to play it for 30, 60, or 9 minutes. Tradition always since. MSRP is held at $34.95, which is impressive when you see what we changed. And this is another one that releases this coming week on October 9th. So let's go forward here. Who can you sell this game to? Well, certainly dungeon crawlers and role players, especially D&D fans who are looking for just a fun kind of devious diversion other than their heavier weight stuff or just RPGing. Certainly that's what the inspiration for this game was. My time as a young role player, so I've packed all that goodness into the game, so that's why I know it'll appeal to those folks. Certainly, if you love backstabbing games, you're going to enjoy this one. And again, previous fans are a great source because this really is a soup to nuts reboot, which is going to deliver a lot of great reasons to repurchase, I think. So let's go through that. There we go. Well, so as I mentioned, it's 12 years old, and it was starting to look every bit of it's 12 years old. So a lot of the impetus was really to make this more appropriate for a modern gaming audience. And that meant a lot of graphic and illustration revamps. I didn't really have a lot of budget back in the day. So these are the comparison of the covers, and I think we can agree, yay, new edition. So this, this, by the way, back when I didn't have a budget, some of the art in the original game, well, it's what I could afford at the time. So it was basically a pencil sketch. Now obviously revamped. Everything looks gorgeous through and through. Lots of consistency. Graphic design is also enhanced, and a bunch of other stuff as we go forward here. Here are the some samples of the cards. The smaller versions of the back are the old style, and now of course they look like they're a little bit more appropriate, for like almost like a video game that you might play. Trying to just enhance all the appearance. But again, for those of you who have never played and would like to understand a little bit more, this is a game about jockeying for position as you're trying to land a killing blow on a creature. So assuming that this creature now has 120 life points left, and he's been tearing us apart and we're bleeding out, you're going to have an initiative order, 1 through 6 potential players at the table. And now as player 1, I might say, oh, you know what? If I play this critical hit 100, I would really help us out, and the pain from this creature is going to stop. But what I really did is I set up the kill for player number 2 to waltz in for 20 points, kill the creature, and take all the credit. So instead, maybe I'll just poke it with a stick for 0 points of damage, or I could plan for the future a little better, do 0 now, but double damage next time with slip behind. So I'm constantly trying to decide what I'm going to be doing. There are no dice in this game. You decide how hard or light you want to swing every turn. Of course, this is absolutely a screw your neighbor game, so action cards get played out of your hand. Let's say this creature is now at 90 points and I swing for 100. Well, someone throws a critical miss in my face. Not only do I miss and the creature is still alive, but I take 10 damage as a result from stabbing myself in the foot. Of course, I might play not on my watch, canceling that critical miss, and my attack is fine. But then player 3 says, hey, you know what? This creature is tougher than it looks. We're going to rotate that card from 100 points of damage just to 50 points of damage, and now they sneak in for the kill. That's what this game is all about, jockeying for position, landing that final blow. So that's really the fun of the game, and seeing how dastardly people will be as they struggle to get that killing blow. And at the same time, all these things are honey traps that are designed to tempt people to misbehave and then punish the entire group, bringing them all closer to death, which is the real fun of the game. But the game has always been about the creatures. It still is. There are now 28 in the game, including 2 new ones. But again, all the artwork has really been revamped. We've got some just gorgeous, gorgeous art as part of the set now. Here's the Necromancer, Hate, which again used to be a pencil drawing, now done just beautifully. Medusa, and this is actually one of the new creatures, Goblin Dragon. He actually will get tougher if you attack him less hard than the last player, or he'll shrink back a little bit if you attack harder. He's going to become a little bit weaker. So you actually control what kind of attack he's going to muster every turn. But as you can tell, just gorgeous, gorgeous artwork on these cards now.
Yeah, this is definitely a big upgrade in that, and extremely like very, very almost D&D like. I mean, it feels like classic, fantasy type stuff, and that's the Goblin Dragon looks a little like me on a Friday morning. But beautiful stuff.
Really oh my! Well, that's pretty rough.
That's what happens when I lose games on Friday night. No, it's great.
But so just kind of like encapsulating what actually is new. This is a reboot. It is the base game. So just be clear that it is not an expansion. It is the new base game. But what's new? Certainly updated graphics and illustrations. We also took the time to really go over the rules, tighten those up, make better keywords. It's easier for new players to get into it. If you remember back in the day, we had an FAQ a mile long. I think it's going to be severely diminished because we're just better at writing rules than we were 12 years ago. The other thing is that the base game, about a third of the encounters when we first created the game were considered a little bit weak. So each expansion has always gotten more powerful, more deadly. And for that reason, we went back and revisited and power boosted about a third of the encounters. So they're tougher in this new game. We do have 2 new encounters. We also have enhanced character and tracker boards. These are now these dual layer boards. So the scoring track is actually inset into that top board die cut out. And the tokens, which are no longer glass beads, but wooden tokens that slip inside of there, they're not going to get jostled around or knock off. And that was a complaint that we had for years in the game. So that's also changed. We've got rules for an epic finish, so you can make sure your last boss encounter is going to be amazing and something that appealed to someone at the table, because everyone takes one of their favorites, we shuffle them up, and we take one blindly as the last boss encounter. But you're assured it's going to be a good fight. I mentioned that now if you just want to play during lunchtime, you can set up for a 30, a 60, 90-minute game. So that's again something that has been requested over the years.
That's phenomenal too, because especially as this type of game will attract new players to it that have never played it before, that's phenomenal. If you sit down with a group where maybe not everyone is into take that games, but you can get everybody to play, being able to tell them, hey, this will only take 30 minutes instead of 90 minutes, you're probably going to get a much better reaction from people at the table. And then once they play, they obviously will get hooked. This is Cutthroat Caverns is a game. I think I bought my first copy almost a decade ago, and I still have it, and it's phenomenally fun. It's one of those games that continuously gets asked to be played when we have the same group of friends that have played multiple times. And even as someone who has played a lot, and even as someone who has the original and still plays it, this is something that I would look at and go, yeah, I want the new things. I want the new encounters. I want the new characters. I want that new stuff. So that's it doesn't feel as though I'm rebuying the game. It really feels like I'm more like modernizing it, which is really cool.
Yeah, and I have had some people ask me, well, is this is there an upgrade kit? Because I own the game. It's like, well, it's the entire box. Everything inside has been updated. So yeah.
And the SRP on the game?
We will get to that. Yes, but before we get there,
so that's the awesome part.
Yes, it is the awesome part. I agree. So the other thing is that we've added rules for adding relics, which we did not introduce into the game originally. This was part of Expansion 2, Relics and Ruin, and it came with an event deck. But I wanted to get relics into the game earlier. I would have actually created them for the base game if I'd thought of it at the time. But the events, they're really intended for expansions because they change the situation on the field too drastically. So it's a treasure room and everyone's going to get one after the first encounter. And for that reason, we've got 12 new relic cards, including over here, the Poison of Infamy, where you can drink this and become absolutely invulnerable to damage. Good for you. However, you can't get prestige, so the only way to win is to kill everyone else. So in any case, yeah, so that's all what's new in the box. And here is what has not changed. And it's just as important. Gameplay itself is unchanged. The backs of the cards have not changed, and therefore it is fully compatible with all the expansions. And by the way, all of those expansions, all 5 of them, are still available. So if you don't see any stock levels, ask your rep, because we do have them waiting for you over at my warehouse. And now, the beautiful part, and as you were just mentioning, we have kept the MSRP at $34.95. Now, that's the price we set 12 years ago, and we have enhanced a lot of the components and added new cards. How did we do it? I don't know, but we did, and we are happy to pass along that same great price. I think it's a great value, and I hope you all agree.
The $34.95 was the first thing that caught my eye when you actually first solicited the game to distribution, because having had it for almost over a decade now, it was something that I looked at and I'm like, wow, why would that not be like $40, $50 because of all the upgrades and all the new stuff and everything that is expanding on a game that was already $34.95. So that's a great, from a perspective of a gamer who has played Cutthroat and owns Cutthroat, it's tremendous value to go out and buy the new edition and get the anniversary edition. So I think that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus it's when this is on the table, mind you, I've been looking at this game for 12 years on my table. And, I have always understood where the game was and its modest beginnings, and seeing it in this new version, man, it's just wonderful to walk up to the table and just see it all out and just beautiful. So, yeah.
I'd like to add a little note to your comment about the expansion still being available in your warehouse.
Yeah.
This is a topic that you actually recently brought up on Facebook, and I think is a great topic to talk about, but I just want to make sure that all of our retailers who are listening here or watching on the recording know. We will tend to, and when I say we, not just GTS, but just distribution in general, tend to stock older games based on the current demand of what we're seeing in the marketplace. And there may be some things like the expansions to Cutthroat Caverns that are a little older that may be out of stock in certain locations, but that doesn't necessarily always mean that it's out of stock at the publisher. So the big thing in that discussion is that if you do see anything that shows 0 in your local warehouse or a main hub that you're ordering from, just contact your sales rep, send them an email, or place a back order online. That will give a trigger to us and our purchasing team that, hey, there's someone who needs this. So it's very easy for us to react. And Curt's warehouse is extremely quick. To give you an example, we had ordered some more stuff for this week for the items and the games that we're talking about here. And those are things that are arriving like today or tomorrow. And we had just ordered them like Thursday or Friday last week. So they react really quickly. They move really quickly. So if there's anything you don't see, by all means, let us know. We can obviously tell you if it is out of stock with the printer and the publisher, but for the most case, it's usually not. And we're happy to get that and bring that in for anyone that needs it.
Okay, great. All right, so lastly, oh, wait, I forgot.
What? What is that thing?
Yeah. So
That's a big thing.
the other thing about Cutthroat Caverns is it is now going to be available on iOS, Google Play, at least to start, and then we're going to roll it out on Xbox and a lot of other platforms as well. We are trying to get as many people exposed to Cutthroat Caverns as we possibly can and bring in new fans to the game. Now, interestingly enough, the game, when it hits iOS and Google Play, you're going to be only able to get that new Goblin Dragon that we just talked about if you use the code from the rule book in your hard copy.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And likewise, when people discover it first as an app, they're going to be certainly they'll be informed that this comes from an actual physical game, and they can find at their local game store. So as happens with many of these ported game apps, they feed each other. If I started with the app, I want to go get the physical game. If I start with the physical game, I want to go get the app, because I'm looking for both of those player experiences from something I love.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of, over the last maybe 2 to 2.5 years, there is a direct correlation to physical sales from digital downloads. We've had a lot of partners, both exclusive and non-exclusive, develop either Steam, like, Valve kind of PC games, or iOS, Google Play, more device style games. And there is a clear line to a digital version comes out and the physical sales will increase the following month. So that's a good thing. I like the idea too that it almost kind of symbiotically, if that's a word, but it works together with the idea that you want to go get the physical game from your store to be able to have the code and be able to enter that into the app as well. So that's a really cool idea. Yeah. Ironically, I met a retailer at Gamma this year, and because we're thinking about it and talking about it, my brain is not connecting the dots as to who it was off the top of my head. But if you're here, you can speak up. If not, don't worry. He told me that he actually had an Android tablet that he put into his store right next to his register. And he had bought like a little like display thing for it. And he had several of the games that he sells in the store as the app. So when people said, well, what's this game like? What's this game like? He could direct them to the app and show them the app. And the first thing I said to him was, does that not worry you that maybe they'll just buy the app and not buy the game? And he said, there's always going to be someone that does that, and I'm not worried about that, but it has already helped me sell so many more physical games than I would have before, that even if there's 1 or 2 people that buy the app and don't buy the game, I'm still getting down the road the way I want to get down the road, which I thought was really interesting, because I hadn't seen that before. And I thought that was a very unique way of kind of combining the value of the digital app helping you sell the physical game in store.
Wow, that's a great idea. Yeah.
And remember his name off the top of my head. I'm looking up on my notes. I have it in my email, but I can't remember off the top of my head. It was really cool.
And for those of you who would like a little sneak peek, by the way, this is how the interface looks.
That's pretty clean. I like that.
Yeah. So you got a little rack of your cards, and you'll be able to eventually upgrade your cards so that they match the new set. So, but in any case, because Cutthroat Caverns has so many opportunities for interrupts and that sort of thing, this is not networked play. It's a solo game with up to 3 different AI opponents that are programmed to behave like we see people behave at the actual table. So each is a unique personality in the way they deal with their cards and you. So there's one person who just, it's a grudge match and they hate you and they're going to do everything terrible to you. There's someone who's more tit for tat. If you attacked me last, I'm going to come after you, and that sort of thing. So there's even a peacemaker that tries to apportion it as fairly as they can. So but in any case, the hope is really that this is just going to drive interest in the game overall and bring more people in, and that is the goal. All right, so let's just take 2 seconds to talk about Roll for Your Life Candyman. Roll for Your Life Candyman, I'm talking about because it's really great as we get into holiday. This version of it is a speed dice game. It's real time. You're knocking the limbs off of gingerbread men. The best way I can describe it is like, if you remember that scene from Shrek where the gingerbread men are fighting in the arena, and that's exactly what this game really is. It takes 10 to 30 minutes, ages 10 plus. It's just a frantic, ridiculous game, and it's 1995, so it's great for a stocking stuffer. In it, you are you got these little cardboard cookie cutouts. You're rolling dice like mad, try to get the same matching symbol so you can claim that limb. So if I rolled the 4 mittens like green has, I can go and grab the candy cane, which is an acrylic candy cane physically on the table, grab that, stop the action, and then claim, let's see, pink's weapon arm. And I put that in my trophy pile. So it's just, back and forth, ripping the limbs off of cookies, claiming their trophies, and being the last cookie standing. So it's a great frantic time. Like I said, our gingerbread men, starting with Run for Your Life Candyman, have always been a hit during holidays because a lot of people will bake their own gingerbread cookies to play with these games, and therefore they make it a holiday event, which is great. Plus, I swear, if you drop a bow on one of these games and you put it on your counter, absolutely you are going to telegraph stocking stuffer, and for $20 it's an easy buy. So just have that top of mind, and then I want to show you one extra thing.
One of my local stores last year had Roll for Your Life Candyman stocked at the register, and they didn't put a bow on it, but they put actual candy canes on it.
Oh,
and it was really funny because we had said, wow, we've played that. Why haven't we ever played with a real candy cane? And it was a very small, subtle thing, very much like your bow. And it was a very popular thing for them. And of course, candy canes at that time of year are like,
sure,
$1 a dozen or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's really cheap.
Okay, so just about done, but before I wrap up, I want to give you all a first look. Now, this is actually something that no one has seen. In fact,
I haven't even seen it.
Right. So this is truly a peek under the blanket before I actually start soliciting in the next week or two. So this is coming out for March, and this is The Deadlies. It is a very light card game based on the 7 deadly sins, here pictured as cartoon animals. They're little demon animals.
Unicorn, that's so great. That regal look on that unicorn's face is so fitting.
This is a game of just you start with a hand of 6 cards, and you just want to get rid of all of these deadlies out of your hand as soon as you possibly can. As soon as you do, then you start with a hand of 4, then a hand of 2, and finally you win the game. Of course, everyone else is doing their damnedest to load your hands with cards and with the 7 sins. So it's just it's a great little backstabby fun game. It plays very quickly. It's got this great appeal. These characters are so adorable, and it's 52 cards and tokens in a box. I'm guessing it's going to be about $15. That's the goal. But the reason I haven't solicited yet is because I'm still waiting for all the costing to come in. But for sure, we will have these by Gamma Trade Show. So we'll be sure to let you get a good look there as well.
Yeah, that's a good looking game. I like the artwork. I like the comedy, the pig with gluttony and the angry bunny with wrath. Those are very comical, and it's things that it kind of in a way kind of strikes me as something that would be very easy for a non-gamer to pick up, just looking at the artistic style of it, because it kind of has I dare to say it, like a bit of an adventure-y time feel. Like it looks kind of off the wall kind of stuff. It's really that's very cool looking, and again, very, very smart graphic design, very easy to understand what's going on there.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and so far as we've been testing it, and you're right, I have played this even with extended family who gaming is not part of what they do, but they were able to pick it up right away and got into the fun of doing terrible things to people while they so. But in any case, so that's our first look, and for sure we'll be doing demos of this over at Gamma Trade Show. So be sure to stop by. And with that, I'm pretty much done. Other than taking some questions, and so if there are any of those.
Just as a reminder, if you do have a question you'd like to ask, you can feel free to hover over the video. There's a little chat bubble at the bottom. You're welcome to ask any kind of questions you have. Just as a reminder to kind of walk through with everyone. So the three games that we talked about today, Menace Among Us, Cutthroat Caverns, the Anniversary Edition, and Roll for Your Life Candyman, those are all 52% off for GTS retail customers this week. So 52% off SRP, you get a little bit extra margin for it. And again, great timing for both the release of the two new ones and for the holiday game to be able to stock up on Roll for Your Life Candyman. I think also just as a reminder, if you didn't capture it, we will put this online so that you can go back and check it out later on our GTS YouTube page and you can get all the information. But the double exposure Envoy event for Menace Among Us is the 3rd and the 4th of November. Is that correct?
Oh, I think it's the 2nd and 3rd, but
2nd and 3rd, yes. It's that first weekend.
Yep.
There's contact information that's in the chat window for Envoy. And if you either don't have your store set up for that, you can contact them and have your store set up for that. Or if you want to talk to them about other things, because Envoy does quite a bit of these things. It's a really great opportunity to have, someone who's familiar with the game, who is used to playing the game and teaching the game, come in and kind of run the event for you and drive all the demand and drive all the attention to it while you're still managing the store and working on the store, which is great stuff. I'll make sure to put that contact information into the video description too when we put it online. That way people have easy access to it and be able to get it too.
Yeah. One other thing I should mention, I do have on my webpage now, retailer resource page, which has marketing kits at the bottom of that page. You can click on any of these images and you will get logos, product images, web banners, sell sheets, as well as demo scripts. And that's for all of our new games. So this will tell you what to put on the table, what to point to as you just overview. In a single page, I've got everything you need to just, convey and put in your own words, obviously, but convey exactly what the game is all about without actually having to play it. You can actually demo it on a one-pager.
That's phenomenal. If you don't mind, Curt, if you can send me the link to that for your webpage, I'll make sure to put that into the video description as well, because that's a great resource for retailers.
Sure, yeah, it's basically just smirkanddagger.com, and you scroll to the bottom of the page and you'll see retailer resources, and it's an easy click from there.
That's great. That's great. Awesome. Well, there aren't any additional questions. So with that, we can probably wrap up. We're a couple minutes early before the end. I was just going to say, Curt, what's the best way to get a hold of you? And there you go. Here
it is.
Final slides, like you read my mind. So yeah, if you have any questions, obviously you can reach out to Curt directly. He's very, very easy to get a hold of and very always happy to talk with you about anything going on. It's just smirkanddagger@gmail.com. Brave man, putting your phone number on there.
Yep.
Good stuff. I like that. So, and of course, if anyone has any questions from the GTS side, you can always feel free to reach out to me. My email is smorris@gtsdistribution.com. With that, though, I think these are great games, both for the two that are coming out, the new one, Menace Among Us, which now I can't wait to play just from the way you described it, and the Anniversary Edition of Cutthroat Caverns, which I'm sure will be a continuous seller for you. But then the holiday game as well is a great opportunity for the retailers. So retailers really do appreciate you taking the time to come in and listen and learn about all these great games. I would highly recommend also that if you haven't worked with Smirk and Dagger before, Smirk and Laughter, check out their whole line of games. They do have quite a bit of things that are really awesome. One of my personal favorites is Shobu. Curt taught it to me back in March at Gamma, and I think I've played it close to 20 times this year. It is a great, great abstract strategy game. So there's quite much more than just the three games we've talked about. But again, great opportunity to take advantage of the pricing on the three games that we talked about today. So. And Curt, thank you. Really do appreciate you coming back. And like we said, while this is the 1-year anniversary of the last one that you did, we'll be happy to get you back here a little bit sooner than a year's time next time. We'd love to have you back soon.
Terrific. Well, thanks so much. And thanks to all the retailers for stopping by.
Awesome. Everyone have a great week in your store. Thanks so much. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.